Government sector jobs or private sector jobs, what to choose? What should be your decision criteria? How should you be making your decisions? If you want to know more, please watch this video. To start with, rather than answering the question on which sector to choose, I would rather take a step back and ask a question around what job you should choose. Why should you choose that job? To my mind, choose a job that you're excited about. You should choose a job you find your strength in. You should choose a job where you find market traction. And at the culmination of these three factors, namely your strengths, your passion, and market traction, is a domain where you should try to find your craft or profession. It's extremely important because remember, next 35 to 40 years, you're going to spend your life on that profession. And if you misjudge that as a starting point, you're going to suffer for your entire life. And the worst disservice that you can do to yourself is to choose a job based on extrinsic factors, namely money, fame, power, position, etc. I'm not denying the importance of that, but these are survival factors. These are important factors, but the choice should be driven by factors which are more aligned to your passion and strength, something you really want to do in this world. And I'm amazed to see so many young IAS aspirants, they are preparing because they love driving on that car with the red light on top of it. This is really so misplaced, because if you make choices based on extrinsic factors, when you get it, it will be status quo, but you are going to struggle big time if you don't really love the job that you are required to do as part of becoming or getting what you intended to get. So now I will shift gears and talk about how you should make a choice between the sectors. For that purpose, I am assuming you have sorted out the job that you want to do, and it's about the choice that you need to make, so which is the government sector or private sector. Now, there are essentially 6 key considerations for choosing which sector to join. These are learning potential, earning potential, you have your exposure, which is basically your peer group, the kind of projects you are doing, the workplace you belong to. You have the flexibility in terms of changing jobs, changing bosses, changing locations, maybe international assignments. Then you have job security, I think self-explanatory. And then you have work-life balance. Now, these are the 6 considerations that you have. If you look at a comparative view between government and private firms, you will find that for the first 4 considerations, the government firms or government organizations are far behind private sector firms at a general basis, on a trend basis. If you look at the last 2 considerations, you'll find that the government firms are far ahead their private counterparts. They provide great job security and they provide reasonable degree of work-life balance. Now, of course, the assumption here in terms of earning potential doesn't include earning from unethical practice. So what I'm going to do, for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to club up the first 4 considerations and call it growth factor, and the last 2 considerations as stability factor. And we're going to analyze all the type profiles of jobs in the form of a 2x2 matrix against stability and growth. So here you go, the matrix: stability divided on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, 1 being the lowest preferred. On the y-axis you have growth, which is again on a scale of 1 to 10, and you have 4 quadrants. Quadrant 1, where growth is not there, stability is not there, typical private firms which are non-corporate, local firms, manufacturing plants which are owned by local owners, something like small scale enterprises, medium scale enterprises. That is exactly what the profile of jobs that fit here. Quadrant 2 is mostly government jobs or very selected private jobs. Quadrant 4 is corporate jobs, Indian MNCs, global MNCs, great growth potential, but you have to continuously perform, because if you don't, your job security is at risk. Quadrant 3 is that quadrant which is high stability and high growth, and that is possible when you differentiate yourself in the marketplace. This is the place for knowledge experts, subject matter experts, business leaders. And when I'm saying experts, it means truly experts, differentiated from their next in line peer group. And this is possible when you develop a substantially high degree of technical skill set or a really great degree of managerial skill set. That's the quadrant that all of us should aspire for. Now, what I'm going to do, having understood this 2x2 matrix, we are going to analyze a decision model in terms of making a choice of government versus private sector jobs. So what we'll do, we'll look across the 6 considerations and going to rate them based on our personal choices. And we are going to consider 2 cases. Case 1, someone who aspires, let's say, growth, money, learning, etc. And these are the scores that they have given, and they arrive at a score of 7 average. Yeah, it's an average of the 4 numbers under the growth factor, and a score of 4, which is again an average for job security and work-life balance. So under stability, they get a score of 4. And you are very clear that the quadrant that they go in is in the growth quadrant, which means they should focus on private sectors. Let's consider a second case wherein an individual or an incumbent really aspires for job security and work-life balance, and they gave a rating of, let's say, 10 and 8, resulting in a average rating of 9 for stability factor and 4 for growth factor. And this is where they lie on the extreme second quadrant. So which makes it very clear that, okay, their mindset intrinsically is to focus on quadrant 2 kind of jobs, which is government jobs. Of course, you should curate this course, you should discuss with your alumni, with people in your family who have been successful. Both, if you are gravitating towards government job, you should hear the other side, should meet with people who have been successful in private and try to understand their perspective, why they chose that, and vice versa. So you should use this model to calibrate, to fine tune, and then finally, if you are still kind of gravitating towards a given quadrant, it's absolutely fine for you to make a choice of career in that quadrant. Now, the last piece I'm going to highlight here is how should you move quadrants and what should you really plan to be? What should be a North Star? See, essentially the North Star is always quadrant 3, establishing yourself as a known people, known person as an SME, which really, making yourself indispensable in the marketplace, and that is the most aspired. So let's say you are in quadrant 4, you are in the corporate sector. The best thing you can do is, whatever is your area of strength and domain expertise, start building them, write books, go to conferences, establish yourself as a SME in the marketplace, build your network, and once a certain threshold level of knowledge, expertise, credentials is built, it will be very easy for you to move to quadrant 3. If you are a government employee from the officer grade and you have hugely unique experience, again, at a certain point in time, you can call it off and move to that quadrant. Of course, it happens a little later than corporate career, but I have seen so many individuals who kind of take early retirement, open their advisory firms, and they are doing extremely good. If you are in the government quadrant and not satisfied, maybe in the officer cadre or mostly from the workers cadre, because your earning potential is low, your learning is low, you're just managing transactions, and you are kind of frustrated. Again, you can take steps. I know people who have done that. You can upgrade your skills, you can do online degrees, you can upgrade your, you can do courses, certificates, and gradually try to move to quadrant 4, where you work for corporates at a higher salary, and then eventually try and find your way in quadrant 3. If you are in quadrant 1, my suggestion to you, the call to action is find one skill which is in the white collar space, build your skill set there, and try to move to corporate jobs. That should be your immediate key considerations as the best case scenario. So that's it. If I talk about the 3 key takeaways we spoke today, number 1, find out what job you want to do before you have to choose between government and private sector jobs. Number 2, there are 6 key decision considerations for making the choice between government and private sector, and there are certain weightages you can give and then arrive at a certain scores. And number 3, we have seen the mapping of jobs in the growth versus stability quadrant or matrix, and based on where you lie, you should find the best case scenario to move to the most aspired quadrant, which is where you establish yourself as an industry renowned SME expert, business leader, guru, thought leader, etc., etc. That's it for today. Enjoy yourself, stay focused and motivated. Take care. Bye.